Here is how to comment during the Frankly Speaking show. On your computer, look to the right of the video. That's your live chat hub. Click the Say Something box at the bottom, type your message, and hit enter. Boom, you're live. On the mobile app, it's just as easy. Tap the live chat button right under the video to open the window. Pro tip, if you're in full screen mode, tap the screen once and hit the chat icon to see messages without leaving the action. Can't type? Check two things. Make sure you're signed in and see if subscribers only mode is on. You might need to sub and wait a few minutes. Keep it respectful, follow the mod's rules, and have fun.
Good day. Good day. Next month in June, teachers from across the island will elect the next president-elect of the JTA, Jamaica Teachers Association. Frankly speaking, it may sound slightly complicated. The president is now Mark Malabo, but the president-elect to step into that office of president in August is LaSonja Harrison. And then the president-elect to succeed Mrs. Harrison will be known next month after island-wide election. It will be either Maureen Mullings Nelson, a lecturer and placement officer at the Michael University College, or Darien Henry, principal of Montego Bay Community College. This is episode 211 of the Frankly Speaking Jamaica Podcast. We have as our guest today Dr. Nelson, Dr. Maureen Mullings Nelson. Dr. Henry will be with us next week. And yes, frankly speaking, we had hoped to have them together on the same show, but that did not work. Before we welcome Dr. Mullings Nelson, let me say welcome to our regular panelists, Winnie Anderson Brown and Desmond Richards. And welcome to you, our listeners and viewers. As usual, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. During the show, we welcome your comments and questions. Please follow the procedure outlined earlier, or just place your comment or question in that comment section on the chat on the channel. In this program, too, we will review the circumstances around the shooting death by police of Latoya Bulgin in Granville, St. James a week ago. Ms. Bulgin is one of more than 110 Jamaicans shot and killed by the police so far this year, following a year of record police fatal shootings last year, 2025. But to our main issue for today's podcast, the JTA presidential race. Welcome, Dr. Maureen Mullings Nelson. Dr. Nelson is an award-winning educator, lecturer at Michael University College, recipient of the Prime Minister's Award for Outstanding Service to Education, and of course now a JTA President-Elect candidate. She is widely recognized for her advocacy and leadership and unwavering commitment to the teaching profession. But Dr. Nelson, I'm going to take the privilege of asking you, what is it that you would be bringing to the presidency and the leadership of the JTA should you win?
Thank you. First, let me say that it's a pleasure to be on the program this afternoon. If elected, in fact, before I say that, I reflected on the 62nd anniversary of the association. I was at the function. And as I sat in the room, I thought about persons such as Wesley Powell and others who they were part of this great body, this august body, and all the work that they did. I also did my own research. I've been a member of the Jamaica Teaching JTA since 1993, thereabout. And so I did some further research and I realized that the persons who initiated, who formed this union were all union persons. These people had teachers' welfare in their hearts. They were committed to the changes in education. And so as I reflected on them and really thought long and hard why I would want to serve as the president, one, to continue the struggles for our teachers. And so what I plan to bring to the table is the advocacy that I'm known for, to continue the fight for not only good salaries. They will talk about the matter of rebanding, and I guess I'll get into that a little more, but the matter of rebanding for our teachers, a livable wage for our teachers. So that's the first thing, because we know that without getting the correct compensation, our teachers really can't survive. We're all Jamaicans. We see the struggle. I don't need to get into the granular details and in terms of what is happening in our economy. So I plan to continue the advocacy for teachers to be paid better, a better compensation package. And compensation would also mean looking at how we are treated, persons who would have done advanced studies, to really agitate for recognition for persons who do masters and doctorate. And they do it not just for prestige, but really to help to advance the system. But outside of compensation, I want to look at systemic changes. The matter of the funding of education is extremely important to me. You know, one of the things, frankly, and Winnie, as I travel the length and breadth of this country, and I'm seeing the disparity that exists among all the schools, you know, schools in the rural and urban area, schools with great alumni, schools that are struggling, schools in inner city. You know, I hear you reference even the young lady that was killed. I went into the community and I visited a couple of schools. And so seeing the disparity, I want to help to change the system, especially where funding of our schools are concerned. When we look at the Patterson report, and the Patterson report clearly outlines that Jamaica's way of funding education is obsolete, giving $2,500 per student and not looking at the needs of the school is really unfortunate. And so, big on my manifesto, once elected, is to look at the funding of school. And another thing that I plan to bring to the table is the matter of mandatory assessment. Now, let me share a little story to you.
Before you go there, Dr. Nelson, I just wanted to ask you, people have said that they're tired of the JTA and this thing about more salaries, increased salaries, improved conditions for teachers. How do you respond to people who say that every year or almost every year, you have a cycle, you have a well-set system in the JTA to do negotiation. And presidents keep coming talking about better remuneration, decent wage, etc. How do you respond to people who say that tired of hearing JTA on and on over that?
Well, the truth be told, JTA would not be a union if we did not speak about the matter of compensation, because the union is really broken down into two parts: teacher development and unionism. And when you look at any union in Jamaica, right across the world, salary and compensation is a big part of it. The challenges is, Franklin, they'll always hear us speak about it because of how much we drag out the negotiation process. 2 years I've been serving on the team, and we started negotiation, I think as early as 2024, we would have submitted the list of claims. As a candidate, I cannot get into all of the granular details because it's really my manifesto that I focus on, but we would have submitted a list of claims from 2024. We are now in 2026, and we just had a meeting a few weeks ago with the minister. So what is happening is that one compensation review keeps basically just bumping into each other. And so we're never really able to fully ventilate or treat with the matter of compensation within the specified time frame to move on to another. So they'll always hear it. And I remind persons all the time that the Jamaica Teachers Association is a union, A union is about advocacy. A union is about looking at the welfare of its workers. A union is about agitating for better compensation. So the minute JTA stops doing that, then JTA would have lost its core function of serving the teachers of Jamaica.
JTA,
Go ahead, Desmond.
the JTA is a union. I think, well, I don't know if most people, but people in Jamaica recognize that. And a union must advocate for the welfare of its members. But as you mentioned in what you intend to do if you are elected, it is time for the JTA, or should I say it this way, the JTA must also focus on its outcome. The students are its customers. And when you look at what is happening today with education of students, the JTA must take a firmer stand, a more outstanding position on improving the level of education of students.
I agree with you on that, Desmond, but what I'll also say in the same breath, when we look at students' outcome, we must look at the state of our education system. We must look at the under-resourced labs, the under-resourced schools, and how we fund education. In fact, an article was written, I think, a few days ago, and I did respond to they gave a response to the article where they were speaking about accountability. And I said, yes, look, listen, I have traveled all 14 parishes. This is my second time running. And what I see in a lot of our schools, the matter of funding, and it's really something that is close to my heart. And I hope I can get a chance to speak about the assessment of our students. Can I just share quickly? So yes, I was a vice principal at Cumberland High School. And I was at the school for 18 years. The last 7 years I served as vice principal. We pulled 110 of our learners, and they were pulled because of the data. So I use data a whole lot. And the data was from the dean's office, where students who displayed maladaptive behavior, we call them our repeat offenders. So they were always involved in a fight. Now, these students would have been with us from grade 7. They came in at the pre-primer, non-starter end, and we struggled with them. Finally, we had a chance, and we had a great partnership with the MICO. The MICO came in for free. The clinician came, and the clinician assessed those 110 students. When the results came, we were not surprised. The result was really shocking, but we were not surprised because I remember the clinician saying to me, Mrs. Nelson, how did you do it? These students are all special education students, and 18 of them should not be in the school at all. And I knew that, but I'm not a clinician, so I could not diagnose. And so these are the challenges we're having. Our system needs to be fixed. When we looked at the latest report coming from CSEC when they had their conference the other day, they spoke of the literacy and the numeracy challenges in the Caribbean. I can present a lot of data, but didn't do that for not doing that for this occasion. But when you look at the data, CSEC said that literacy and numeracy is in need of funding. The Patterson report, which is giving the recommendation, which is basically the trend initiative is part of the recommendations from the Patterson report. It speaks of special education policies. And so I agree, JTA must have a greater voice. That is why on the list of claims, that is why our agitation has always been to fund education, to look at special education in such a way that we give support. We hear that autism is on the rise, but what about a disability such as intellectual disabilities? I have a special need.
Dr. Nelson, I have to ask you this one right away because...
All right, good. No problem. Go ahead.
Yes. Desmond asked you a specific thing about the outcomes, and you are mentioning some of the systemic problems. But the JTA, should the JTA take responsibility for any of the outcomes? Should the JTA take responsibility for any of the outcomes of the system, where you advocate for your members to be paid better, you advocate for betterment in the system. Respond to that for me, please.
All right. So to say yes or no, I must straddle the middle ground, because yes, in the sense that what we ask for on the list of claims, what we have been agitating for, the things that we have been saying to the various governments that are in place, these are some of the things that we want. And so, strictly speaking, the JTA is about negotiation and professional development of our teachers. So should we take some of the blame? To some extent, I cannot give in terms of an empirical data or a specific number. But what I know is that the Jamaica Teachers Association is agitating, would have written several letters, would have, as I said, the list of claims, and as a candidate, I can't get into the details of the list of claims. But we have been agitating, and that is where I think that's our responsibility, for the agitation, for teacher development, to put pressure on the government. And as a person who is part of the negotiation team, I can say definitively that we have been doing that. So to take blame as a prospective president, I would say no.
Okay. Let me go back a little bit to your advocacy and for the members' sake,
yes,
you mentioned. What about the criticism that you, as well as your opposite number other candidate, are cut off to, what is the word somebody gave me there? Disconnected as a lecturer, as a tertiary sector people, disconnected from the classroom, grassroots classroom people.
No,
who
so
are the ones who face the problem.
That's a fallacy. Firstly, my journey started at Denham Town Primary School. I taught grade 4. I've been teaching for 35 years.
But you are a big shot. You are a big shot lecturer now. A divorce from the conditions.
Give me a chance
type of classroom.
Give me a chance to answer. So I spent a number of years at the primary school, all age school, and 18 years. The last 8 years I've been lecturing at the Michael. But as a lecturer, the beauty or the thing that is good about what I do as placement officer, I'm in all schools across Jamaica. I place the students in the school. I go to the primary schools. I interact with principals. I'm aware of what is happening there. I go to all the special education schools. In fact, during the pandemic, I was responsible for treating with 40 of our special education, not 40, but I was even 40 students who are all special education persons. We are now partnering with other Niger group of schools to look at getting some resources into some special education. In October, I visited the Early Childhood Education Conference to learn more and to get more information about what is happening in early childhood education. I'm a researcher, and so I can speak not only from a theoretical perspective, but also from a lived experience. I am in these schools every day. When I place a student at a primary school, I must visit the students, I must visit the teachers, I must interact with the leadership of the school. So it's no big shot lecturer. I stand in front of a whiteboard or use a PowerPoint to present to students. They are of a different age, but they are students nonetheless. And I am preparing them to go into the classroom, both for early ed, secondary, and primary. So when I tell you, Franklin, that I'm so aware of what is happening, because that is what I do every day at the Michael, to prepare them to get into all these systems. No big shot lecture here. Teacher, teacher, teacher.
I want to ask you as well now on an area that is up in people's faces now. Early childhood education. Is it fair to say that the JTA does not put forward strong enough positions about the early childhood sector, which everybody says is the foundation, which everybody points out should be better funded, better this. Where are you and your presidency in a potential presidency in representing or in pulling up that whole sector?
So first to say that, again, going back to the list of claims, and what we would have submitted to the government of Jamaica, early childhood education is captured, covered, and we are treating with the matter. As a president-elect candidate, as I said to you earlier, last October, I went to the Early Ed Conference as a person in tertiary to understand what is happening. We know the disparity that exists between the infant schools and the basic schools. You know, we know the funding and all of that, the funding model used for the basic school, because most of them are owned by churches or other private entities, as opposed to our infant schools that are managed by the government of Jamaica.
Yes.
The challenge, though, is the funding, and I like to go back to reports and use empirical data as well as speaking with people on the ground. So as part of my manifesto speaks to the matter of funding. When we look at early childhood education, so I speak to persons, principals in infant schools, and I visited hundreds of infant schools across this country. We see the challenge with resources. The fact that teachers are complaining that they have to be going in their own pockets and they have to be buying the stuff, the things that are needed. And so the funding, the Patterson report states that how education, early childhood education is funded must be dealt with alacrity. In fact, a report came out, I think, in today's paper. The ECC, they have called 26 member committee to look at some assessment framework for early childhood education. And so, as a candidate, the funding of early childhood education is a part of my manifesto, but not only funding, it is student assessment. Too many of our children are leaving with the basic schools, the infant school, getting into the primary schools, unable to read. What are the challenges? What is happening from that end? Why our students are coming over to us, reaching us? As I said, the school I work, I had students there, pre-prima, non-starter. And so looking at the assessment and assessment framework and assessment model, if we realize that when the child would have participated in some diagnostic thing, I know for grade 1, there's a grade 1 learning profile, and then grade 3, if we see a trend, and I like to use this I wouldn't call it analogy, but just to say that if you notice that Tom cannot recognize blue in grade 1, and again you assess Tom in grade 3, and he's not recognizing the color blue, what do we do with the data? So I see some movement, you know, the screening is good. I hear the government moving to a different funding model, which I think is really long overdue. I call it a low-hanging fruit that should have been picked long time. So embedded in my manifesto is looking at the matter of funding, looking at the matter of training and the stipend given to say to the government of Jamaica, the persons in the basic school that would have attained the level 3, pay them as a specialist 1. So they would have a better compensation, and then we can attract persons there who are trained.
But Dr. Nelson, I have to point out to you and the listeners that the Ministry of Education, or the government, as people would say, doesn't have to listen to. They don't have to listen to you. You can make a lot of recommendations. You or other presidents have done it over time. How do we get change? Because they don't have to listen to you. And if you bring 10 different recommendations, they can ignore all 10 of them. How do you effect and get change? How would you be trying to get change as president?
Well, data is always where it is for me. The data presented, what is happening. And truth be told, I don't think the government is in need of any new data. Because coming out of various reports, coming out of various conferences, the struggles that we're having with special education, it is there. For me, if given the opportunity, is to continue agitation. What successive presidents have been doing, some things we can't just throw to say it is not working, but it's to continue to show the government of Jamaica. You know, I said the other day that.
So how are you going to cause the change? How are you going to bring about the change?
The change, again, is using evidence-based data. It's to see how we can pull the sector together, how we can work with external partners to see if we can bring about the change needed. Because if I present to you what CSEC is saying, if I present to you the data coming out of the early childhood education, if I present to you the reports from the teachers. If I present to you the NEI report, which speaks of the state of our schools across Jamaica, failing versus satisfactory versus schools doing excellently. If I present to you the struggles of our teachers, I think that is 5 strong pieces of work, strong pieces of evidence that we can present to the government. We can also do a comparative analysis. What is happening in other countries across the world? How are other countries that are doing very well? How are they treating other countries that, right in the Caribbean here, where they are spending less on national security and more on education, how their economies are growing? These are some of the tangible things that I plan to present, to see, and hope, frankly, we all live in Jamaica, hope that it can effect some or cause some amount of change.
All right.
Okay, two things. I want to make a comment, and I want to read the comments and comment on salary.
Yes.
The question I read, first of all, Rubian Forbes says, good afternoon, everyone. And then Owen Richards says, basic and infant school teachers, fee-paying members of the JTA. And what I want to put in the mix, based on what you've said, is the fact that basic school teachers are not paid by the government.
Right.
The government provides a subsidy.
Yes.
So my question would be, for the level 3 that you're asking, is it that you're asking the government to start paying level 3 workers as well as a trained teacher that they say, and you notice I say they say, that they would place in each basic school?
Well, the answer to that is yes. The answer to that is yes, because I think once that is done, we can pull other persons, other trained teachers to the basic schools. And if in terms of a full payment, I guess some partnership would need to be forged, because a lot of these basic schools are owned by churches and other private persons. So it's not to take over full payment, but to work in such a way that these persons will receive better compensation. 19,000 to about 31,000 is woefully inadequate.
Okay.
That is what, per fortnight?
No, monthly.
No, month.
The government subsidies, it's monthly.
It's subsidy. It's monthly.
Monthly.
Yes, it's monthly.
Cruel. It really is cruel. But can you answer the question about our basic and infant school teachers, fee-paying members of the JTA?
Well, I know the basic school teachers, I don't think they are members, but the infant school teachers are. Infant school teachers are paid members of the Jamaica Teachers Association.
And part of the question that, because in preparation we get these, we have to talk to quite a few people. Part of the argument that people have raised before, and we had a previous discussion on this, is that if you brought in enough people who are in the basic school system, who are teachers, they have lives in front of them every day. Why don't you bring them all in to the JTA and allow them to make their impression on the voting system, for example?
Well, that would have to be done via, say, a resolution. So the Jamaica Teachers Association, any changes that we want must be done resolution. So that is something that could be raised at the conference floor to have this done. But as a candidate, it's not embedded in my manifesto, but it's something definitely that can be raised via resolution.
Yeah. What would you say are the 3 main problems now? If we listen to them, the 3 main problems facing the education system in Jamaica, from your point of view?
From my point of view, funding is one. I must go back to the matter of funding, because the funding system, and the data is there to show, the articles, all the research is there to say that our funding model is really woefully inadequate. And the funding model is inadequate because we pay how we pay per head or per the number of students in the school. But the challenge with that is that a lot of the schools may have other issues. So an issue that a school could face could say the security. It could need better resource labs. It could mean giving some support to students' development or even teacher development. So funding is really a major issue. Another issue is how we treat with early childhood education and special education. I want to put those together as one. Again, going back to the matter of funding, how we do training of our early childhood educators, looking at special education. One of the things that I am proposing is that all primary schools should have a special education unit attached. And if it can't be done, per primary school, then the matter of having special education unit within the QEC and have social workers, psychologists, and other trained persons to do assessment. We can't wait on the MICA, we can't wait on the other expensive places to do the special education. We must begin to treat with it in-house. So the matter of funding early childhood education. Another matter is assessment, how we look at assessment of our learners. Our learners are struggling. 1 in 100, I was a part of the early ed meeting the other day looking at autism, and it says 1 in 100 students have they're somewhere in the spectrum, but that is also outside of students with other intellectual disabilities, mild, moderate, and severe. And they're in our classrooms and they're struggling. So 3 big things for me, and it's outside of compensation, because compensation, I wouldn't put it in this mix, but looking at a systemic change, funding, treatment of early childhood and special education, and how we look at student assessment. And I want to put / even violence in school, how we treat with how students are behaving. These are all critical issues that must be addressed, and we must deal with it quickly.
When you go around to the schools, sorry, Desmond, you go ahead.
From your experience, Miss, and in the schools, what do you think is behind this increase in violent behaviors in the schools?
Well, a number of factors, and I hope I can use an example. A number of factors, the society or the school reflects basically what is happening in our society. And so parental support is a big thing. Parental support or the lack thereof is a major issue. The students having access to internet. A lot of students are just watching and just being involved in a lot of things online. The single family household, and I know some people get me for it, but I'll say it anyway. And I say it from my lived experience, because while serving as vice principal, I had to deal with a lot of women. They are security guards, they are helpers, they are hustlers. And so because of that one parent household system and the erosion of that village, the erosion of the village, we no longer have the support. And so a lot of our students are on their own. I would have had boys that mom works in Montego Bay as a security guard, and they were living in the tenement yard, and somebody will give them little food and somebody will give them something, but they're not watching when they go and meet the Don and have the guns and everything like that. And so when you come on to violence in school, it is again close to my heart. And that's part of the reason why I got the Prime Minister's Award for Outstanding Service Education. I did an experiment, pulling 30 students and use the performing arts. When you know why I said that it's in my blood, I use the performing arts to treat with maladaptive behavior. Boys and girls who persons they write them off and they said that these boys are going to be gunmen and shutter. And so I did an experiment and it worked. It was really, I said it worked wonders, because the children, they're all alive and they did very, very well. And so all the things that I said, along with other factors, would cause violence in school. The challenge, though, is that we don't have a policy framework in Jamaica that treats with student behavior. So a teacher may have poor class control and it becomes the teacher's problem and not the school or the system's problem. And so until we pull together as a society, parents are very, very, very important in the equation. But you know what I said, Franklin and others? I wasn't getting the support of the parents of those 30 students. So as a school, we became a unit. We gave them food. We took them home. We became their caregivers, and we gave them everything for 1 year. And those same students, in fact, one of them just opened is dance student in Australia, and he opened one in North America. You may know of Dancing Rebel. You know, she's a very popular Jamaican dance icon, came out of the camp. We took the St. Catherine Performing Arts by storm that year. So when I think about violence in school, for me, and I've done several training with principals and other things, that's one of the things I do. I go into schools. So frankly, I'm in the schools. I met with the principals the other day to do a training looking at school classroom behavior management being a school-wide issue, and how we treat with it, how we channel the energies to sport, going back to funding. Because the funding, what we didn't get any funding, you know, sir. You know what I did? I would go downtown every Saturday morning. The yam man at the market gate know me, because I bought yam. Because I go in the market and I buy chicken neck and chicken foot, and then we go and we cook and we did soup. So we sold soup to give them money, plus we gave them soup. We partnered with Jamaica Flour Mills and a couple other entities. You know, the different agents that delivered food to the school, and we did it, and none of those children are dead. They're all doing well. So it's how we pull the support, because yes, parents must get involved. But Franklin and Winnie, sometimes parents are nowhere. Most of these fathers are dead.
Yeah, or abroad. Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple of quick questions, because we don't have a lot of time, but we have a lot of issues. And one of them, one of them I want to ask you is, how would you respond to teachers who say to you, we fear for our jobs, or we fear losing control of our classes because of the technology, AI in particular? How would you respond to those teachers?
I love that question, Winnie. I love it. And I say to them, teachers, no fear, no fear. Look at what happened during the pandemic. We realized that we need the teachers. AI cannot replace our teachers. The challenge is we're not opening our minds to the technology. I say to the student teachers, your job security is not at risk. Your job is not at risk. What you need to do is pivot. Pivot. Look at what obtains in terms of research and all the other infrastructure and all the other technologies that we're introducing. I want teachers across Jamaica to pivot, to embrace it, do the research, and see how embracing AI can make their jobs easier. I don't want to share all the secret here, but I lecture assessment in education. I also lecture leadership at the MICO, and I have used it to help me to create a framework for the research paper and to guide very deep discussions using reference and literature, because literature must drive the research. And so I just say to my colleagues, don't fear, pivot, embrace it. We realize that during the pandemic that our teachers are needed, and no AI will replace us or our robot. What we need to do is to pivot, embrace, research, learn, and grow.
Okay, let me ask you now, what are the 3 things that you would say to a teacher why those teachers who are going to be voting next month in June? What are the 3 things that you'd say why they should be voting for Dr. Maureen Mullings Nelson? What are the 3 things that you would say are the strongest points about your candidacy?
All right, thank you for that, Sir Franklin. So we all love Usain Bolt. And as Jamaicans, when we see Usain Bolt step in a race at the starting line, all of us in this room are very comfortable that Usain Bolt will win. Why? Because of his track record. So I present my track record of advocacy. 6 years I've been serving as the president of the Staff Association at the MICO. Went to the MICO 2018. By 2019, I was elected as their VP. Why? I started to pull policies apart. I started to interrogate the policies at that great institution. I started asking the hard questions. And I remember a lecturer would say to me, how you know these things? We have been here for 20, 30 years and we don't know about this. The inquisitive mind that I have. So for every year since 2019, I've been elected to serve as the president of the association because of my track record of advocacy, my keen eyes for policy, looking at a policy, and to look in such a way to say, is this policy working for the system? Is it working for the betterment of my colleagues? And so I am the staff advocate at Jamaica. 7 parishes nominated me this year because they heard of my advocacy and that Maureen Mullings Nelson is a fierce one to protect the right of my colleagues, in the same breath showing them and helping them to understand their responsibilities. My consistency. So I have spent 35 years, but I don't want to say because I've spent 35 years, you should vote for me. But my quality, consistency. So as vice principal, I would use all my summer. My colleagues would say to me, Franklin, so you don't have a visa, you don't go away. We leave you here, we come here. I would sit and go through all staff appraisals. And when I go through these appraisals, I am looking at the strengths and weaknesses of my colleagues, and I would create individualized plans. So if Winnie's challenges classroom management, I pull persons together to help her. If yours is writing good lesson plan, I pull it together. At the end of the day, I reward and acknowledge teachers. So my consistency, and also the fact that unionism is embedded in my heart. 2 years I've been serving on the team, part of the bargaining team, the negotiation team with Jamaica Teachers Association. I'm aware of where we are. I'm aware of what is happening at the table. I'm aware of the strengths and the weaknesses in bargaining and negotiating. And I'm making and taking copious notes because I'm a candidate. So some things I can't say and do, but I'm writing, I'm researching to say, what will I do differently? Now, put that together with the passion that I have. You have an excellent candidate right here. So consistency, track record, quality, teacher empowerment, policy, systemic changes that I'm about to I want to call it unleash. Excellent candidate right here.
Ruby and Forbes, 5362 says, if you're elected as the next JTA president, what is the one thing you would like to leave as your legacy? Something to say, I made a difference.
I love that, Rubian. I think of Edith Allwood Anderson, that great person, and I say I want to be remembered like her. And so the matter of, and I'm thinking about this one, restoring hope in the Jamaica Teachers Association. Restoring hope in the Jamaica Teachers Association. Because as I travel the length and breadth of the country, I hear a lot of murmuring and I hear the cries of our teachers. So restoring hope would mean rebanding, getting qualification allowance to where it should be, looking at the matter of housing, looking at the matter of funding and scholarship. It would also look at our healthcare. So I want to leave that as a legacy. I said to people, I'm in this race because I want to leave a legacy. 35 years, I'm looking to step away any day now. And so it's really legacy to when I look at the young teachers at the Michael, Winnie, and they say to me, Doc, we don't want to stay. I want to give the teachers right across Jamaica, the student teachers, a reason, a hope to stay in Jamaica and to serve this system. So I want to restore hope in the system and in the Jamaica Teachers Association.
Dr. Nelson, you mentioned there a couple of times, you mentioned the word, that phrase, restoring hope. Would you say that a great number of the teachers feel hopeless about the system? And what is it that they feel hopeless about? Is it the representation from the JTA? Is it what the Ministry of Education is giving them? What is it that might induce hopelessness among some teachers?
It is the system. It is the system. And I
But
say
what is that? What is that when you say the system?
All right.
What is
So,
that?
for
Because
example, when I speak with a principal, a principal is feeling hopeless because of the funding. Again, you're going to hear me talk about the funding. So when I go to a school and I want to use the restroom and I have to go to a bucket, and the principal would have showed you how many letters, all the things that he or she, what they've been doing for a while, and all the challenges within the schools. When you talk with the teachers and they have to get in their pockets to buy resources. So it's really hopelessness in the system and feeling that the system is putting a lot of pressure and burden on them.
And you are saying to them what? And you are saying to them what?
And they are hopeful, though, that the union, and one that I will certainly get an opportunity to lead, will restore the hope and to agitate enough for the system to respond.
Okay. We're giving you 1 minute now. Sorry, go ahead, Desmond, and then I give her 1 minute to wrap up.
Yeah, Madam President, do you know what percentage?
No, hold on, Desmond. Hold on. I don't
No,
want
Desmond. President-elect candidate.
Candidate.
Yes.
Do you know what percentage of public schools are still using pit latrines?
No, I wouldn't have that data. I just know I speak of it because I have visited and I'm visiting schools and I don't see any pit latrine in the schools that I visited to date. And I've been into very remote parts. I think the challenge is with water, getting water into in a lot of the schools. So I will not say here that I've seen in school latrines, not saying it's not there, but I've not seen and I don't have any data to speak to that.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Candidate, can you just take 1 minute now and wrap up by just making a pitch to put the potential, the voters who are out there and would want to know, again, why they should consider you as the next president-elect.
Thank you for that. So my colleagues, 35 years I've served this system, and I've served this system at an excellent level. I am the advocate that you have been asking for. You have been asking for someone from the classroom, 35 years, and even though I lecture at the university college, I stand and prepare students in front of a classroom just like you. And so my track record of excellence, my consistency, my advocacy, a part of the negotiation team, I'm armed with the knowledge, I'm armed with the skill set, I'm research driven. All I need now is your vote to ensure that Maureen Mullings Nelson is the next president-elect designate of the association. Colleagues, I ask you to do your homework this evening. I ask you to go and do some research on Maureen Mullings Nelson and my track record and the ability that I have to pull a team together. Collegiality is where it's at for me, and how throughout the years I have transformed institutions. That is the level of advocacy that I have given, and that is the person that you would want to serve as your next president.
All right.
Of the Jamaica
Dr.
Teachers
Nelson,
Association.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You sound like a politician.
I hear that too often and I don't like it.
No, that's politics. No, that's politics in the broadest sense.
Okay. No, we're not meaning narrow partisan politics.
Not partisan politics.
I know, but I hear it all the time. But this is the political arm of the Jamaica Teachers Association.
Of course.
It is.
Of course. You're correct.
You have the administrative and you have the political arm.
Right.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Dr. Nelson. As you being wish well. And
Rubian says, I wish you well.
We wish you the best.
Thank you, colleagues.
Wish you well. All the best.
Blessings.
All right, Madam President.
No, Desmond. There's some protocol here.
How do I?
All right, let me just remind you all that next week we expect to have as a guest Dr. Darien Henry,
Not.
Dr. Darien Henry, Joshua is showing us somebody else at the moment, and the other president-elect candidate. Before we take on the police fatal shootings issue, let me offer my condolences to the family of Dr. Agri Irons. Now, that's the person that Joshua was preemptively putting forward there. He was following the script. Dr. Irons, Dr. Irons is a people's psychiatrist. I heard him call that a long time ago. The man who broke it all down and helped emphasize the importance of mental health.
Yes.
He spoke about that so much among Jamaicans.
Yes.
Dr. Irons is a sportsman, a musician, a lover of laugh. He was a lover of laugh. I don't know whether he had a philosophy that you have with it. He was a philanthropist and a dedicated psychiatrist. Dr. Irons died last night.
Yeah.
Now, one of the biggest news stories of the week past was the death and almost unbelievable handling of the body of the woman shot dead by police in front of dozens of people and seen now by hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, on video. Desmond, we're talking about Latoya Bulgin. Desmond, give us your assessment of the whole thing, from the shooting to the handling of the body to the response by society.
I read H.G. Elps today, and I observed he made a point that is common to me. The point he made was that he was not shocked. So many people are shocked, but he was not shocked at how the police behave. Now, I am from that school of thought. Believe me, how the police handled the body of Miss Bulgin, I don't expect them to handle it. You don't see how they move professionally and that. That is how they handle the bodies of people who are shot. That is how they handle it.
May I ask a question? Are they supposed to handle the bodies, or should they wait until some observation, the scene is protected, the person pronounced? How does that work? How is it supposed to work?
Big question and good question, because the protocols are not established yet, apparently.
Hold on, Winnie, understand this clearly.
Yeah.
Understand. I want you to understand this clearly. At these shootings, remember that in most of these shootings, only the police is present there now. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing, that the medical service is not equipped with ambulances to go to these scenes and take up bodies. Those are reality.
Very, very big issue, Desmond.
That is a reality.
Go ahead.
That is a reality. So in most cases, it's the police vehicle that take up these bodies and take it to the morgue. Remember now, the police are not trained to say that John Brown is dead, a body is dead, right? So they are not the ones who should remove these bodies, but in reality, that don't exist in Jamaica. They don't have the medical service, is not equipped with ambulances to go to these scenes to take up bodies. The other thing that you must remember, that over the years, and this is something that we must remember, over the years, the police have been involved in these shootings. The police are the ones who have been involved, and we know that the version that the police give over the years has been challenged, right? Now, hold on. One of the things that we must remember, that in days gone by, the police was accused of shooting people, putting them in the back of their cars and take them to driving around with them before taking them to hospitals. You don't remember
driving around, Desmond, and people used to joke about it, laugh about it. Driving around all over for example, a shooting takes place in let's say in West Kingston, and they drive the body out all the way out to Bull Bay and come back in and that sort of thing. Those things have been spoken of. Anecdotes like those abound about, and people in Jamaica have laughed at it over the years until we see where we are now.
I know personally, I can speak personally of this. I know of detectives that who were at Flying Squad in downtown Kingston who are known for this. This is something that they do. Yes? So I am not surprised at what the police, how the police handle the body. The other question, the police say that the deceased was about to use, was driving the vehicle. He was using the vehicle as a weapon then to kill the officer. When you look at the video don't show you that, unless there are other things that I don't know, I have not seen, right?
Well, that will be part of the investigation, Desmond. But since you've raised that, what has happened is that there are lots of people who are making up stories, telling lies, having a total disregard for the facts and the truth, to try to make out that there was a good reason to shoot and kill that woman. There are people out there who are doing that. They believe either that they're defending law and order or defending the police or whatever they believe that they are defending. But that's what lots of people are out there doing. Just telling lies, making up stories, saying the woman was wanted for this, and further defaming her. But the whole business is a disgraceful blot that on Jamaica. The
other thing that we must know, that Granville, over the years, Granville has had a record, a number of being one of the murder centers in St. James. And it has reduced over the murders in Granville has come down significantly, where the police, commend the residents. Now, since the start of the year, want you to remember that 5 killings have taken place in Granville. Police have killed 5 people in Granville. 3 of those are related, Bulging is related to that 4-year-old boy and that 17-year-old other boy that was killed by the police. You remember that 4-year-old that was killed on January 1st? Yes, you remember? During what the police was a shootout in which two other men were killed. Well, that boy and the 17-year-old and Bulging, they are related.
Bitter thing to Well, that's our show for today. We're again on the side saying that it's time that we deal with this police fatal shooting and wear the body-worn cameras. It's very important, and we're not interested in seeing so many Jamaican young men, and in this case a woman, going to meet their maker. Or what? What did they do? Thanks again to Dr. Maureen Mullings Nelson, candidate in the JTA President-Elect elections to be held next month. Thanks to you, our viewers and listeners, for sharing your time with us. Remember, you can watch this podcast at any time by just clicking the link or going to the Frankly Speaking Jamaica YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Special thanks to Desmond Richards and Winnie Anderson Brown and Joshua Black Media Services. He's our producer for the show. On behalf of all of us, I'm Franklin McKnight. Until then.
The lights go up, the mics are lit. We're feeling that energy, that Sunday drive. Whether you're here while the clock is ticking or catching the replay, the plot is thickening. From the very first word to the final thought, you're the reason for every day. And our viewers watching from miles away. If you live in the chat or on a late night screen, you're the heartbeat of the Frankly Speaking scene. We see you, we hear you, we appreciate the love. You're the spark we're always thinking of.